Italian Football Podcast.
So we'll start off with the Wednesday evening matches and the thriller between Villarreal and Juventus. Another thriller in the Champions League for Juve, who are becoming really the team to watch for the neutrals in Europe this season. 4-4 thriller against Borussia Dortmund in match day one, where they made a late comeback to grab a point. And this time it works against them as Renato Veiga equalises in injury time, their Juventus old boy from last season, to grab a 2-2 draw for Villarreal in Spain. Another crazy game to analyse, just like the Dortmund. There are lots and lots of different angles to this game. Well, first of all, again, we saw, Juventus remain unbeaten still this season in all competitions. I wasn't confident going into this game at all. As I said on the preview, Juventus were without their best defender, Bremer, without their best midfielder, Kefren Turam, and they weren't playing the best in the last few matches. So going away to a team that won 8 games in a row at home in Villarreal in a really hostile environment, I wasn't confident at all. And when Villarreal took the lead to go 1-0 up, I wasn't confident either. But Juventus showed that kind of spirit that we've seen so far this season. They launched a great comeback to lead 2-1. They had chances to go 3-1 up, and then they gave away such a simple goal, which we'll talk about at the end, to kind of throw away the 2 points. So yes, before the game, I said I would have snapped your hand off for a draw. And I think in normal circumstances, it would have been a good point. But when you're 2-1 up, you're on top, as Juventus were in the second half. They played a really good second half until the end. It's frustrating to only draw this game.
It's a weird game to analyze for many reasons for me. I was concentrating on this game. I rewatched the Napoli game after, but I was focusing on this as it was going on. It was a very, very weird game. Juventus were poor in the first half, especially in the opening 25 minutes. They were woeful. They looked like they were going to be completely steamrolled by a Villarreal that was full of energy, full of aggression, had Juventus's number tactically, and the Juve who defensively throughout the game were woeful. I know Federico Gatti scored a magical overhead kick, but my God in heaven, did he not have a good game defensively overall. But then they made changes in the second half, and Juventus just took the game to Villarreal and really should have won the game. It is 2 points dropped, especially when you take into consideration the miss of the decade by Jonathan David. It is the miss of the decade. It's it's the Roberto Gagliardini Invitational. This year's winner, Jonathan David. You can't miss. You just cannot miss that. I don't understand how a professional footballer misses that chance. It's like Lukaku against Spezia when he trips over his own feet. Like, I don't understand how a professional footballer can miss a chance like that. It's they have this rule in the NFL that if you miss the following conversion point, you call it in rugby, after you scored a touchdown, you get sacked. There should be something like this in football as well. You cannot miss these chances. It pisses me off because it's like you come on, like mistakes are fine, but there are levels. This is professional sports. There should be a bare minimum that you have to clear. And that miss by Jonathan David was genuinely atrocious to go to cap off what was an awful night for him.
Yeah, we have to talk about. Well, let's talk about Jonathan David now.
We have to. We
can't
pretend here.
you've raised it.
I just want to go on the record before I have a bunch of dickless pricks in my mention crying about how I have some sort of agenda against him. Yeah, I am angry this morning. I think you can tell that.
Yes, I've already listened to Nima's moaning at the start of.
No, I wasn't moaning. I was
before we started the pod.
I was yelling, but for other reasons. But listen, I like Jonathan David. I wanted him to sign him because I think in a 2-man attack, I think he's a goal scorer. He's a natural goal scorer. I think he can be really useful. and I think he's been very, I think it's a good signing, and I still think he can come good. But let's not pretend that shit is chocolate or that donkey piss is beer, because so far his Juve career has been awful. It's not been good, and nothing. The symbol of that was that game against Villarreal. I expect Jonathan David. I give him longer period to adjust to Juve, to a new league, to a new system, all of that. I don't think Jonathan David needs special time to not miss a sitter from 2 yards out alone with a net wide open. I'm sorry, this is just not good enough. It's just not good enough. You always talk about Juventus and levels and this, that, and the other. Come on. It doesn't matter who you are.
First half, he was invisible, and we've seen him be invisible too much this season. That's been generally the pattern. What we've seen with David when he has played, he hasn't been involved enough, and even in the box enough. Kind of trying to come out the box too much when we don't want that from him. In this first half, he was invisible again. The second half, though, he had 2 chances. He hit the bar with a better finish, actually. That was a decent finish because it was from a tough angle, but he didn't put it away. And that would have ended the game. That would have been 3-1, game over. So yeah, I mean, yeah, we need to see more of him. Also because Juventus have 3 strikers here, and I think they're going to have to get rid of one of them in January. They've got one too many there. They're only going to be playing one up front. If they're going to persist with this formation of 3-4-2-1, which there has been debate whether they should change the system. So yeah, I mean,
but the problem is that if the thing that's like the conundrum here is, if you play a 3-5-2, which I think maybe Juve as a team and given the strikers they have accommodates them better, even though, as we've spoken, the 3 strikers they've got are so similar that can they even play together? But the thing is, then you sacrifice Francisco Conceicao. It's like with Federico Chiesa all over again. If you don't play him wide, you play him centrally. I'm not sure Conceicao centrally is the solution. Like Juventus have managed to, by not addressing a problem, create the same problem, but having spent more money in doing so. And that is, again, on the incompetence of the management that you and every Juve fan always talk about. It's that simple.
Yeah, we spoke about this. I spoke about this on Monday's show about Juventus signing players that are incompatible with one another, or stockpiling in certain positions, then having gaps in another position. And I think having 3 strikers and then having Zigrova and Conceicao the same play in the same position, that's a perfect example of that. But I mean, if we can,
no, but if they sacrifice and go to 3-5-2, then they sacrifice both Zigrova and Conceicao.
Yeah, well, that's my point. Tactically, compatibility between different types of players. I mean, listen, I thought first half Juventus were too easy to be played through on the counter. I actually thought that Juventus controlled the game, possession and territory pretty well in the first half. No, in fact, throughout the whole game. And I thought that actually their high press worked quite well. Even in the first half, they were winning the ball back well, high up. Locatelli, who I thought had a really good game.
He had a very good game.
Made a lot of interceptions, cutting out the ball from the goalkeeper for Villarreal, who had a bad game himself. But Juventus were suffering on the counter, and they were getting sliced open. Actually, Villarreal created three big chances in the first half. That's despite Juventus.
And Juventus created 0. I mean,
McKennie had a couple of half chances, but not real chances. Yeah. But then, like you said, the second half, Juventus was straight out of the blocks. Conceicao definitely made a massive impact. And great finish.
That's encouraging.
He set up a chance for 3-1, and Conceicao. This is why I wanted him to stay, because I think he's a wonderful player that makes the difference and ignites the team when he comes on and plays. So
he's an individual quality. Like individually, he has lots of quality. And I think one thing that, if we ought to move to the positive before we talk about another negative, which is cup minors, is that Tudor interpreted the game really well, and his in-game his change really threw the game on its head. And that he had a striker who knew how to score tap-ins for open goals, they would have won this game, and it would have been 2 very important points. Um, and that's really positive, because the way that Conceicao came on and Juventus will manage to have bite in their attack, something they did not have in the entire first half, was, the 2-1 goal was, yes, it was a mistake from Villarreal, but it's individual brilliance by Conceicao, and I really like that player, and I think he's going to be very useful to Juve. But again, my issue is that they have once again recreated the same problems they had before, but they've spent more money in so doing. And this is again why you have a sporting director. This is again why you have someone in charge. Whether it's Milan, we've said it. Whether it's Juve, we say it. Whether it's Inter, we say it. You have to have someone in charge of this tactical formation, with a bird's eye view, who can bring in a coach and bring in players to assist that coach deliver.
Yeah.
This is like ABC. Like, this isn't. We're not splitting atoms here.
I agree. And that's been Juventus's problem for, I would say, over 5 years. This was a problem. This was a problem ever since Paratici took over from Marotta. That's when this all started. This 100%. Whole buying players that don't. There's no synergy between the sporting director buying the players to fit the manager and a formation and team building that way. So yeah, that's where they've gone wrong. But I mean, if we go back to this game in particular, I think let's stay with the positives. Listen, we have to talk about Federico Gatti, because we have to talk about his goal, right? Because
stunning.
If there was one player that you would least expect to score a sensational bicycle kick, who would it be? It would be Federico Gatti, wouldn't it? I mean, it was hilarious. I was just like, my first reaction was, what? What did I just see?
Yeah, that was everyone's reaction, Carlo. Everyone in the world reacted like that. Everyone in the world reacted like that.
I know. Of all the players, Federico Gatti scores that goal. I mean, I laugh about it, but I think everyone has a friend. Anybody that's played football at any level, even if it's Sunday League, Hub League, playing in the park, everyone has a friend who is not the best player.
To be honest, he's shit.
Okay,
then he makes a miracle moment.
Shit. They can't chop a bag of cement. They've got no skill or technique.
And then they all of a sudden pull out this rabbit out of the hat.
Yeah, all of a sudden they score this ridiculous goal, and you remember it forever because it's so like out of nowhere. And this reminds me of, and I'm not going to name him because he's a lovely guy, and I don't want to be horrible, but when I was a teenager, we had this guy that used to play for us, right? And he was a complete, he was a bit of a, I'm going to be nice with my words just in case he's watching, but let's just say he was, he used to miscontrol. He's
surely a lovely person, but doesn't mean that he's come on. He was probably shit at football. Doesn't mean he's a bad person.
He used to miscontrol the ball. He used to do the most he was a forward. He used to do the most he used to do the most inexplicable misses. He was a big guy. He was clumsy, lanky. And then we were playing this game. It was, I think, quarterfinal of a cup. And it was like 2 minutes from the end in extra time. And this kind of 50-yard ball come over his head. And he's outside the area. And he does this ridiculous bicycle kick into the top corner.
Of course.
And everyone was like, no one could believe what they just seen. And that just reminded me, and we're going back like 20 years here, and that reminded me of Gatti's goal. Like, what have I just seen? It
was a beautiful goal. It's the goal of the week, goal of the season contender in the Champions League. There's no doubt about that. He scores an overhead bicycle kick with fantastic technique.
I was just thinking, do you have can you let's go through? I mean, I was just thinking about it. Goals from players that weren't the best or just scored a ridiculous goal, surprising goal. I'm thinking Nigel Winterburn, for all Arsenal fans, Nigel Winterburn, Arsenal against Chelsea, 97-98.
Which goal you mean? Yeah.
Do you know which one I mean? It was a late goal from outside the area, left foot, a top corner from like 35 yards. Arsenal won to win 3-2. Arsenal won 3-2. And they won the double that season. Nigel Winterburn was a left back, veteran left back. He never scored. He was just a defender, didn't have much technique. That one. John Jensen for Denmark against you get Denmark against Germany in the final of Euro 92.
And also he scored a magical goal for Arsenal as well. A beautiful. I think it was his only goal for Arsenal, first goal for Arsenal.
After about like nearly 100 games or something, 50 games or something like that. And he was shit for Arsenal, really shit. Yeah. He got the move to Arsenal because of that goal, because of that goal that he scored against Germany. And then the other one I was thinking of, Mauro Bressan for Fiorentina against Barcelona. It was like a bicycle kick from outside the area.
A bicycle kick.
Bicycle kick.
Into like boom.
1998, 99 season, I think, if I remember. It was the season Fiorentina knocked out Arsenal, actually. The Arsenal link in all these goals.
Yeah, those are good ones.
I don't know if you've got any of players that
not shit players, but surprising goals. Fabio Cannavaro scored a goal against Parma, I think it was, in the
from outside the area, wasn't it?
Yeah, into the top corner. I did not see that coming. Like, I don't think I've ever seen Cannavaro shoot the ball before or since. Like, it was just whoa. Fantastic player.
I remember Alessandro Birindelli for Juventus just come to me, who scored this like 35-yarder from out of nowhere into the top corner against Deportivo in the Champions League. That's when Deportivo were really good. And I always remember Paulo Montero's reaction. Paulo Montero went, "Mamma mia!" like that, and he did that because it was Birindelli. He said afterwards it was Birindelli, and he was like, I think he did a quote after the game. He goes, "I've watched Birindelli in training for like 5 years, and trust me, he's never scored. He's like every single shot that he's ever done has gone like rosette, and then he scored that goal."
Well, Guarin had a couple of screamers like that as well, but then again, he had a good shot on him. He just didn't have any control of where the ball went. I mean, the ball could literally go outside the stadium and hit the panini selling lady outside in the parking lot, or it could go into the top corner. There was really, kill a bird or top corner. Like those were your options.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great story. And like I said before, I want to give some positives to Juventus. Villarreal have won 8 games in a row for a reason. So for Juventus to come here and be this competitive, I think overall probably a draw was fair if you look at the big chances in this game, I think they were quite even, first half and second half. I think Juventus controlled the game more. They were the better in possession, but Villarreal were always a danger. Pepe was really good, actually. Another ex-Arsenal player, flop at Arsenal. He was causing all kinds of trouble to Cabal. And that brings me on to the negatives. First of all, I said it before kickoff. It was madness starting Cabal in this game. That's why I said in the preview, he's coming back from an ACL. He's only been back for a few weeks. You don't start a player in a game as intense as this in the Champions League. I don't care if you've got players out. And he wasn't ready. He got destroyed. He was getting destroyed by Pepe in those first 15 minutes. He was also maybe even a little bit lucky, that he didn't get a second yellow. And then he pulls his hamstring. So now Juventus have lost a player that they needed. And that's another defender injured now. So, they already don't have the depth. So he should never have started. I have to criticize Tudor, the management, for starting him in this game. He should not have been starting this game. He should have been building him up slowly. He's only been playing 10, 20-minute matches. He wasn't ready for a game of this magnitude. So that's number one. Number two, defending in general, which I think you touched upon. Juventus is defending.
That equalizer that Gabby Veiga scores. I mean, what is Vlahovic and Gatti doing on that goal? I'm sorry, but you expect both of them to be better timing, anticipation, reading of where the ball goes. I think someone tweeted at me, said it looked like Gatti was jumping off a trampoline. He wasn't jumping. He was jumping off a trampoline into a pool. Like, that's how the jump looked. And Vlahovic just completely mistimed it. Now, that's just poor. And I think the fact that Veiga is the one who scores it is not just, ex-player, but it's symptomatic of but Lloyd Kelly is. You see what I'm saying? He's not at Juve, where he actually could have been serviceable, but because they spent their money stupidly elsewhere, that's why he's not at Juve. Because I think he actually would have done much better. He would have started this game for Juve, and I think he would have been much better than both.
Veiga was really good at Juventus. I was disappointed that Juventus couldn't sign him. But listen, that they've conceded off a set piece again. I've been going on about this for well over a year now on this pod about Juventus's set piece problem. Their numbers, their set piece numbers last season were near the bottom of Serie A for both conceding goals and for combined with scoring goals, but certainly in particular of conceding off set pieces. It's a problem. It was a huge problem. I thought that Igor Tudor would improve that because the kind of player he was, he was one of the best in the air as a defender. I thought that he would address this, but clearly it's still a problem. I said it in the Inter game. Remember, I said it after Juventus beat Inter in that game. And I said that I run through some of the stats, the aerial stats in that game. And I know Inter are one of the best aerially, but it was really scary, the difference in the stats between aerial challenges won and lost and headers in the area. Like, it was a clinic for Inter in that game. But people didn't really talk about it because Juventus won the game. And I said, look, this continues, Juventus are going to be conceding goals. And they conceded one against Inter. They conceded another one here. And such a simple one. It wasn't anything special. It was just a simple cross into the box and they score. So they have to address this problem. And they have to, I don't know whether they're going to be, because I don't think the personnel are good enough, but they have to address this problem in defence, because the last 5 games, Juventus has conceded 11 goals. Tudor spoke about this after the game. You can't be conceding 11 goals in 5 games and think that you're going to have a successful season. So that has to be, they need to look at that. Whether it's, I don't know, maybe I've touched on this. Maybe they need to look at a change of system. Maybe they need to recognise that Gatti plays better in a back 4. Kalulu plays better in a back 4. Yes, Bremer is better in a back 3, but he was actually good in a back 4 under Thiago Motta before his ACL last season. I don't see why he can't adapt. But the other players are better in a back 4. But then the fullback positions are an issue as well. Well, fullback or wing back. Cambiasso can't defend. He's too lackadaisical. He doesn't have the concentration levels. He switches off, and he's not. Cambiasso's from the Di Lorenzo school of defending, of just being too passive and too, let's say fair, to use one of another word. When it comes to defending, it doesn't get tight. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, and I love that you use legal terms in contract law to describe it as well. The principle of laissez-faire. It's yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I don't really have much to add to that other than cup minus. Subbed on at halftime, subbed off at halftime, disastrous performance. If you want to save Coupe Miners, if you want to give Juventus more balance, I think a 3-5-2 is the way forward. You need to have that extra man in defense. The problem is Kenan Yildiz has to be the number 10, so it becomes a 3-5-1-1, and then all of a sudden you've killed Conceicao because he can't play unless you're going to try and play him as a wing back, like you did with Chiesa. Again, my point about creating the same problem but with new players and less money in the bank.
And
same with
Zegrova. Gonzalez as well.
Yeah, Nico Gonzalez, Zegrova, Chiesa, Conceicao. It's Groundhog Day over at Continassa, and it's stupid.
I think I would go to a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. I think I would.
Maybe something new. Yeah,
maybe a 4-2-3-1, because then you can still play Yildiz as the 10. But then you're maybe a little bit too top heavy in attacking. But then at least you've got more options for your wide players. And like I said before, Openda can actually do a kind of Moise Kean roll out wide. But Coupe Miners passing is what was really abysmal in this game. So many basic, unforced passing errors. There was one where he passed the ball straight out of play. Did you see that one in the first half, where he had under no pressure whatsoever? No one was even pressing him. He was a pass out to the right-hand side and he just passed it straight out of play. And a chance that Villarreal had to go 2-0 up was his fault. He gave the ball away. They counter-attacked, and I think it was the chance on the right, or the one when Perrin saved it. Yeah. So yeah, I said it at the start. Juventus have a battle to qualify here because they've got 2 points from 2 games, and they've got Real Madrid away in their next game. So I think we can pretty much confidently say they're going to lose that game. So they're going to have 2 points from 3 games. Then they have Sporting Lisbon at home after that, which we're going to come on to now. And Sporting Lisbon did not deserve to lose against Napoli, in my opinion. They're not going to be an easy game either. So yeah, it's going to be. They're going to have to battle to qualify. I don't think it's a guarantee Juventus qualify from this league.
I think it's a guarantee they finish in the top, whatever, 24 or whatever. I don't see a problem for them to get into the round or the playoff round. But for them to finish in the top 8, that's going to be difficult.
No, that's gone already. That's gone.
It's not going to happen.
That's gone. Yeah.
But I mean, then again, I'm not as confident that they won't be able to get a result against Real Madrid, because if there's one thing we've noticed is that this Juve thrive because they're a very open team. They thrive against teams that attack them and go after them. And even if you're 2 goals up against this Juve, they can still hurt you and score on you late twice, as we've seen against Inter, we've seen against Borussia Dortmund, and so on. So I think that's going to be a pretty crazy game, if we're perfectly honest.
Yeah. Anyway, listen, just let's stop here. For those of you that are watching this on YouTube, this is we're now going to talk about the other 3 Champions League games, but that's going to be only for our Patreon. So if you want to listen to the rest of the show, where we'll talk about Napoli Sporting, Inter beating Slavia Prague, and also Atalanta winning against the Club Bruges, and previewing the Serie A action and some other talking points in Italian football, then go to patreon.com/TIFP, $3.99 a month. And Nima's going to come here and tell everyone about YouTube memberships. I can see, aren't you? Yes.
No, I was expecting you to forget, but you remembered, so I don't need to. But yeah, YouTube memberships as well. You can watch all our content on YouTube memberships as well.
Yeah.